Hey, aloha, Ronnie Margolis here with eXp Realty on beautiful Kauai. And I'm making this short video just to talk a little bit about what goes into effect this Saturday, August 17th. Big changes in the real estate industry. You may have seen about it when the original judgment came down many months ago. And those changes or changes in our industry go into effect nationally on Saturday, August 17th. There was a lot of press about the ruling or the judgment, I guess, back when it originally went through the courts, and certainly a lot of misconception. And as the media does, things get blown out of proportion. And what I have to say is there's really two things to understand, two major changes that go into effect effective Saturday. Number one, for a buyer to see a property or write an offer on a property prior to even going into the home, and this is national, not just in Hawaii, that buyer must have a signed agency agreement with a realtor, a buyer's agent. Now, in many states, that's been the practice for years, not everywhere. Now it's mandatory. And that agreement also needs to specify what the compensation will be to that buyer's agent. It does not specify where that compensation is going to come from. The second thing is, in our multiple listing service, and this was one of the key points of the settlement, the compensation to that buyer's broker cannot be published any longer in the MLS. So it's not pre-negotiated, and it's up to a seller and a buyer to work through a transaction as they always have. Sellers have never been required to compensate agents on the other side. It's always been negotiable, but there are a plethora of reasons and a lot of strategy as to why 95% of sellers choose to compensate the buyer's broker in the transaction. It's going to be a negotiation. If you want to understand more about it or talk about strategies for your next sale or your next purchase, please call me and I can take you down into the weeds and explain further what this all means. My number is 808-346-7095. Again, Ronnie Margolis with eXp Realty. We look forward to serving you, whether as a seller's agent or buyer's agent, helping you with the hundreds of emails and initialing and all the phone calls, that 35 people involved in the transaction, and the many, many hours of work on either side of the transaction to make sure you get a great result in what is a very important transaction, for some people, the most important transactions of their life. So I look forward to being of service to you. I and my team do. And until then, have a great weekend and aloha from the Garden Island. Aloha.